Üks paari sõnaga, igaüks meie külalistest paari sõnaga või rohkem selgitab sellist põhiprobleemi, mida tema näeb või mis tema koduriigi ajakirjandust parajasti vaevab kõige rohkem. Katsume sellega hakkama saada kuskil 50 minuti sees ja siis saame esitada küsimusi, vastuseid kõigile korraga. Ehk et muidu võib juhtuda niimoodi, et esimene esineja saab tohutus hulgas küsimusi ja teistele ei jää üldse aega. Nii. As it happens, there is a volunteer to begin with. This kind of event usually needs first volunteer as the first speaker. Imants, you volunteered. You will be the first. Write his name in this.
Yeah.
So, do you want to take the stand here, or do you want to have a microphone? All right.
It works now.
It works now. So.
Yeah, I'm volunteering because I can walk a little bit around here. Okay, I'm Imants Liepinš. I'm serving at the board of the Latvian Journalists Union. And I've made notes of the previous speakers, so I'll try to follow their ideas, their problems they already talked about, which are all by now known to you. And first, I agree to those who say there is no such thing as a social media. There are social networks. Yes, with user-generated content. But in my opinion, it does not qualify as media because it's very seldom this content is generated by journalists and real professionals. So, and Latvian Union of Journalists, we are always saying that just creating content doesn't make you a journalist. There are, of course, all kinds of bloggers in Latvia and YouTubers and influencers, but they are not journalists because they do not follow the quality standards we do. So we think of, for example, of those YouTube influencers as a kind of entertainment, but not journalism. Second. In Latvia, we have now the so-called Media Ethics Council, and as a trade union in Latvia, the Latvian Journalists Union is opposing it. Why? Because we already have liability in court. If we do something wrong, we have also criminal liability, and this kind of Media Ethics Council gives all the politicians and wrongdoers, when we write about them, it's one more place where they can complain about us. Meanwhile, we cannot use that council for our own protection. So Latvian Union of Journalists is not participating in that council. We have, of course, our own ethics commission, should the problem arise, because the principles of International Journalists Union says that jurisdiction over such professional disputes is only to other professional experienced journalists. Not some kind of people who have volunteered to work at such a council who has no actual experience in journalism. And in case of Latvia, one of those judges at the Media Ethics Council is representative from Latvian advertising agencies industry. So we are some kind of going back to the 90s when advertising ruled over the content. We do not approve this, and I hope in Estonia situation is better with that ethics council. We have when Mr. Rotov told about journalists having their own blogs and publishing their opinion pieces, even if it's not a part of their direct day job. We also in Latvia we treat as a journalism even if it goes on in a kind of private blog. We had an interesting court case. There is a major news outlet called TVNet in Latvia, which is the major rival to Delfi, a Latvian version of Delfi. And some years ago, TVNet wrote about the director of. TVNet was criticizing director of Latvian National Opera because that opera director was leasing out the opera house on some kind of holiday when the opera was not working to, I think it was Igor Krutoy, shady singer from Russia, for his birthday party. Some kind of, there was some kind of opinion piece on TVNet that this is a bad practice and it shouldn't happen. The author was a person named Oliver Zemets. It turned out that there is no such person, it was a nickname. But the court ruled that this opinion piece was derogatory and the opera director was awarded a huge amount of money because you cannot have an opinion if there is no person behind that opinion. So somebody was liable for also for an opinion piece. About PR and journalism and politicians. Sometimes it happens that a journalist thinks about being a candidate at election, or a journalist can become a PR manager. We do not look at those processes as a kind of, we don't think that those journalists who venture into politics or PR, we do not think that they are traitors, because we have in our constitution 100 years ago, we have a principle enshrined that people can choose their profession and they can change their profession, and we cannot deny that right if they want to change their profession for some time, and they can come back to media from PR. That was a very good quote. Write less, but better. Well, I will try. I do not, in Latvia, we do not have a situation when if a journalist makes a huge and good research or investigation and creates a wonderful story that nobody will be willing to pay for big work a big amount of money. In Latvia, that won't happen. In Latvia also some online media, including Delfi Latvian version, are trying to lure people in for paid content. Right now, they are publishing long reads when you are, I think, you are paying €2 every month to access all that long read and graphic content. But this experiment works only for 6 months now, so we don't know if it will be successful in the end. Now about there was examples from Estonia that if journalists are tackling the huge topic of forestry, and if we are cutting down enough trees, or if we are cutting down too much trees. And there was a thing that people really don't want to go into that kind of details. In Latvia, it's quite the opposite. It's a very hot topic right now, and everybody has an opinion if that person has walked through a forest once in his life. Also about, there is a good example how media content is revolutionizing Latvian society. 2 years ago, there was, at the public Latvian radio, was a huge series of investigative journalism called The Children of the System, about those children who are living in orphanages. There are about 2,000 such children in Latvia, and turned out that their lives are miserable there. 2 years later, all the orphanages are currently being closed down. 2/3 of those kids are already given away to foster homes, to real families, and Latvia has banned adoption to foreign countries. Only if a distant family member is adopting a Latvian kid, adoption is denied in every other cases, because it turned out that there is some kind of cottage industry of shady lawyers growing behind those adoption cases where foreigners are paying huge amounts for rights to take Latvian kids out of orphanages and then travel to, let's say, to America with them. So this, in result of journalistic investigation, this practice has been completely shut down and made legal. And also, all the orphanages is just being closed down, and the kids are being transferred to actual families. And to speak on that, I have one cartoon. It's from it's a so-called swine picture of pigs. It will be in Latvian. It looks like this. So on this side is a regular journalist in pretty much every country in the world, right? On the other side, there is a Latvian journalist who is protector of children, saver of animals, social worker, and police investigator, prosecutor, and judge, all the same time.
Is this the normal clothing of the Latvian journalist?
As you see, no. But I can try if you want later. Later this evening. And of course, that thing it's not normal. Journalists should be doing their jobs, and there is something wrong in the society if we are forced to take all those other roles, and that's not good. If society starts to think about us as protectors of their rights. So I hope that we would somehow go away from this situation. About that example of Sputnik. In Latvia, they wanted to open their office, but since they are part of Russia Today media holding, which is under European sanctions, they were denied the rights to open their office in Latvia. But they found some workers anyway, and they are doing something. But they have to compete with actual journalists in both the Latvian and Russian-speaking media of Latvia. So that content from Sputnik is actually going almost nowhere. It's a very marginal thing. And about the status of journalists, we have very liberal law of journalism, where everybody who actually practices journalism is a journalist, and you don't have to be a member of any professional organization or have formal education. Journalism is a free and open market, it's an open profession as it should be. So, any questions?
Well, as I said, questions will come later.
Yeah, and after this session, if somebody wants to talk to me, just come to me, I can speak also Russian.
But why do you think it is a special situation in Latvia with Latvian journalists? Because in Russia...
You will get your chance, Andrei. Andrei, you will
way.
get your chance. Let's not try somehow.
I agree, but anyway, this is about, it's just a Latvian cartoon about Latvian experience. It can be very same in different cultures, yeah, too.
Yeah, well, we will need to keep going because there is quite a few of the guests, and I really would like to have some time for questions later. So I